My phone vibrated against the edge of my keyboard, rattling an empty mug that still smelled faintly of burnt espresso. 3 monitors glowed in the dark office, each filled with cascading lines of code and simulation graphs for Helion Systems' newest security architecture. I expected another client update. Instead, the preview lit my screen like a flare. Damon. Family meeting, Saturday. Mum needs surgery, Dad's memory worsening. Urgent. The phone slicked through my fingers, plattering against the desk. Coffee splashed onto my jeans, but I barely registered the spreading stain. Cedar Lake. After nearly 2 years, I was being summoned back. The last time I'd stood among them replayed like a looped nightmare. Dinner at the Cedar Lake Country Club. Damon, shaking hands with the mayor as if he were already running for office. Sabrina showing off her 3-carat diamond while Trevor ordered yet another round of drinks. And me, Renée Calder, mocked for still playing with computers. Cute hobby, Damon had announced across the white-clothed table. But you're 30, pies. Time to get a real job. Sabrina had patted my hand, voice syrupy with condescension. Trevor knows someone hiring admin staff. Benefits, even. What none of them knew, what I had never told them, was that 4 months earlier, Helion Systems acquired my company, Obsidian Gate Security, for $64.8 million. The patent I'd written in a dingy studio apartment with a mattress on the floor, Blasfail, now protected the data of Fortune 100 corporations. My bank balance, swollen into 8 figures, glowed from an app I checked more often than I cared to admit. A soft knock drew me back. Aria Lynn, precise as ever in a tailored blouse and slate slacks, slipped inside carrying a manila envelope. Renée, she said, laying it on my desk. You vested another 0.6% today. That's 11.4. She laid them across my tail like a costume. Your family uniform, she said, her face serious. But Renée, you don't have to keep hiding. I touched the hoodie's frayed logo. They've never seen me succeed, I admitted. I'm not sure they can. The desk phone rang. Rowan's steady voice filled the line. Foxhaven estate deed is finalized. Ashgrove Memory Care Initiative is fully staffed. For the first time since Damon's message, I felt anticipation instead of dread. Maybe it was time they met the truth. Maybe it was time to end years of being underestimated. I looked at Aria. They've had control long enough, I said quietly. That changes. Saturday. The Uber slowed at the gravel drive of my childhood home, headlights washing over the white colonial that hadn't changed in 3 decades. Cedar Lake shimmered behind it, autumn maples shedding leaves like fragments of old memories. Damon's gleaming black Range Rover dominated the driveway, beside Trevor's low-slung crimson Maserati. My faded hoodie and worn jeans suddenly felt less like comfort and more like camouflage. The front door swung open before I reached it. Damon filled the frame, crisp button-down tucked into khakis, a Rolex flashing in the porch light. There she is, he boomed. Finally decided to grace us with your presence. His one-armed hug pressed me like a business handshake, obligatory, performative. Economy must have been packed, he added with a grin. It was fine, I said, deliberately brief. He heard what he wanted to hear, that I had no choice but to fly coach. Inside, the air smelled of lemon chicken, a recipe unchanged since I was 10. The scent twisted inside me, comfort tangled with alienation. Sabrina appeared from the living room, hair curled to perfection, makeup flawless as though she'd stepped from a glossy spread. She pressed something into my palm with a quick hug. I glanced down. A Nordstrom gift card, $120. For interview clothes, she explained softly. Trevor mentioned an admin opening at his firm. Benefits and everything, Sabrina countered, with stories of charity galas and Trevor's golf tournaments. I sat quietly, noting how every word landed like an audition. Success. Curated for applause. Finally, Damon turned his attention my way. So, Renee, how's that startup thing? Still, what was it? Cyber something? Cyber security, I corrected. It's going well. She needs a real job, Sabrina told Mum, as if I wasn't across the table. That's why I gave her the card. Trevor says first impressions matter. Mum and Dad nodded, concern etched into their faces. Concern that had always worn the mask of disappointment. Damon cleared his throat, slipping into CFO mode. We've toured several facilities for Mum and Dad. 3 strong contenders, all with memory care. Harbourview Pines is best. He clicked his tablet, revealing glossy brochures spread across the table like autumn leaves. When did you... I started. Last month, Sabrina interrupted smoothly. Trevor and I took a long weekend. Damon flew in. They really loved the dining options at Harbourview. Dining options. That's how my parents' future had been distilled. Damon pushed the financial chart toward me, colour-coded slices of obligation. Monthly cost is $15,800. I'll cover 52%, Sabrina and Trevor 36%. That leaves 12% for you, about $1,900. But we know things are tight. We can reduce your portion to $600 if you handle more visits. The condescension slid across the table like a blade. They'd already chosen the facility, calculated my role, and assigned me time currency to compensate for my supposed poverty. I glanced at Mum, who looked down at her plate, and at Dad, who had drifted into fog again. The familiar hierarchy pressed against my chest, suffocating. My phone vibrated in my pocket. I slid it out discreetly. A single message from Aria. Remember who you are. My hand tightened around the phone as Damon droned. Your choice. Damon exhaled sharply. Renee, we've been through all this. Harbourview is the only serious option in Cedar Lake. There's nothing else that meets their needs. The faint vibration in the distance reached me before anyone else noticed. At first, just a tremor under the bones of the house. Then a distinct thrum, steady, mechanical, approaching. Damon frowned. What on earth? The sound grew louder, rattling the glassware. Sabrina darted to the window, pulling the curtain aside. Her gasp cut the silence. A sleek black helicopter descended onto the front lawn, its polished body catching the floodlight, the Helion Systems insignia gleaming unmistakably on its side. Leaves whipped in a frenzy, the old maple outside bowing to the force of the blades. Trevor muttered, "Emergency medevac?" I rose slowly, smoothing the front of my worn hoodie. "No emergency," I said calmly. "That's my ride." 5 faces turned toward me in unison, disbelief etched on each one. The helicopter touched down with a controlled elegance. Rowan Pike, ex-military precision in his posture, stepped out from the cockpit, adjusting his tie before opening the passenger door. Even from a distance, his presence radiated quiet authority. Sabrina stumbled back from the window, eyes wide. "Renee, what is this?" I walked toward the door, each step deliberate. It's time we had this conversation somewhere else. Damon's voice cracked with anger. "Are you seriously staging theatrics right now? Our parents need real solutions, not..." The words dissolved under the roar of the slowing rotors. I opened the door. Rowan approached the steps, giving a crisp nod. "Miss Calder, your transport is ready." For the first time in years, Damon and Sabrina were speechless. The hierarchy they had so carefully preserved tilted on its axis. "Shall we?" I asked, holding the door open. It was about giving Mum and Dad the care they deserved, and forcing my siblings to see reality. My phone buzzed. Dad's name lit the screen. "Renee?" His voice wavered through static. "Your brother says you're being reckless. Are we going to be okay?" The question hit harder than Damon's barbs ever had. I swallowed, steadying my voice. You're going to be more than okay, Dad. I promise. This isn't about me fighting them. It's about me fighting for you and Mum. As I ended the call, the helicopter banked gently, revealing the silhouette of Foxhaven Estate below. Sprawling lawns, Georgian columns, and the discreet east wing built for a very different kind of future. The rotors slowed as we descended. The real confrontation was only beginning. The helicopter settled on the emerald lawn with a soft thud, blades slicing the air one last time before easing into silence. My siblings followed several steps behind me, their designer shoes sinking into the grass, faces masks of strained composure. To them, Foxhaven Estate looked like a museum. A restored Georgian mansion with 9 bedrooms, sprawling gardens and a newly constructed east wing, discreetly attached to the back. To me, it was something else entirely. An answer to years of dismissal. Waiting at the entrance was Victor Ames, estate manager, grey-haired and precise. "Miss Calder," he said warmly. "Welcome home. Dr. Sloane and the medical staff are prepared." His eyes flicked toward Damon and Sabrina, then back to me with professional neutrality. Inside, the foyer gleamed. Sunlight poured through high windows, glancing off polished oak floors. My mother clutched my arm, her cane tapping nervously against the threshold. "It's beautiful," she whispered. My father's eyes roamed in quiet awe, momentarily sharper than they'd been all evening. "This way," I said, guiding them toward the east. Chef Alvarez welcomed us into a sunlit kitchen, aromas of rosemary and garlic drifting from the stove. "Nutrition is part of treatment," he explained. "We emphasize Mediterranean patterns, proven to slow cognitive decline." He set down plates of salmon, olive oil glistening beside bowls of berries and nuts. Dad chuckled. "Tentative, but real. Not the mush they served at my friend Carr's facility. Never," Alvarez promised. Finally, Dr. Sloane led them into a garden sunroom. Raised beds overflowed with lavender and rosemary. Along one path, scent stations released subtle notes. Vanilla, pine, coffee, designed to anchor memory. "Henry," Dr. Sloane said. "Smell and touch trigger recall better than photographs. Here, we build cognitive exercise into pleasure." My father's hand brushed the lavender. His eyes brightened. "My grandmother's backyard," he murmured. "She grew this." Behind us, Damon cleared his throat loudly. "Impressive, but excessive," he muttered. Sabrina leaned toward Trevor, whispering too loudly. "She can't possibly afford this. It's a show." I ignored them. This wasn't for them. It was for the 2 people who had raised me. Imperfectly, but with love. When the tour ended, I turned to Dr. Sloane. "Could you show my parents the orchard?" "Of course," she said, guiding them out through French doors, their faces alight with childlike curiosity. The moment they were gone, I pivoted to Damon and Sabrina. "We need a sibling conversation." Just us. Reluctantly, they followed me into Foxhaven's wood-panelled library, where a mahogany table stretched under a chandelier. Aria was already waiting, leather portfolio in hand. She laid it before me with deliberate care. I looked from Damon to Sabrina. "Before we discuss money, before we talk about what's affordable, we're going to talk about ethics." Their eyes flickered in confusion, but Aria's calm gaze steadied me. Inside that folder lay state inspection reports and documents connecting harbour. "This is borrowed money, isn't it? Or some tech phase you're milking before it collapses, like your crypto idea. You've always chased shiny things." I felt heat rise in my chest, but forced my voice to stay level. "Is that what you think this is? A stunt?" Before they could answer, I opened the portfolio and slid a tablet across the table. With one swipe, the large screen mounted on the wall lit up, filling the room with the bold headline, Helion Systems acquires Obsidian Gate Security for $64.8 million. Below it, a photograph, me shaking hands with Helion CEO. My name and title spelled out in bold. Renée Calder, founder and CEO. The silence was absolute. Damon's mouth opened, closed, then opened again. Sabrina blinked rapidly, leaning closer as if to catch some hidden trick. Trevor's poker face faltered. I continued, my tone steady. Obsidian Gate wasn't a hobby. It was a cybersecurity firm that built Glassveil, the system now protecting 16 Fortune 100 companies. 4 months ago, Helion bought us. I'm their senior vice president of security architecture. Today, my vested equity is valued at $34 million. Arya stepped forward, placing documents in front of each sibling. Bank statements, property deeds, trust papers. All independently verified, she said crisply. But I wasn't finished. With another swipe, the screen filled with state inspection reports. Highlighted text glared across the wall. Harborview Pines, Q4. Violations, infection control, staffing ratios, improper restraint usage. Sabrina gasped. Damon frowned. Trevor's face drained of colour. And then, I added, clicking again, there's this. An email chain appeared, redacted only where legally required. Vendor invoices, referral bonuses, legal representation signatures. The logo of Trevor's firm stamped neatly at the bottom. Sabrina turned. I never needed your money. I needed your belief. Instead, you gave me pity, mockery, dismissal. But here's the truth. I built something that matters. And now I'm offering to build something for them, for Mom and Dad, that actually works. The door creaked. My mother stood there, cane trembling in her hand. My father beside her, confusion etched across his face. What's happening? Mom asked, voice breaking. Why are my children always at war? I looked at her, then at Damon and Sabrina, both silent, shaken, undone. Because you never saw me, I whispered. But it's time you did. The acquisition headline glowed on the screen behind me, a stark reminder that the family hierarchy they had built on illusions had just shattered. The library air hung thick with silence, the screen still glowing behind me like an unblinking eye. My siblings sat across the table, stripped of their usual armor. Damon's jaw worked, his knuckles white where his hands gripped the armrests. Sabrina twisted her wedding ring, avoiding my gaze. Trevor had retreated to the corner, his tie suddenly suffocating. My parents lingered near the door, the weight of confusion and worry bending their shoulders. I took a slow breath. So what now? Do we keep pretending this is about appearances, promotions, or country club charity boards? Or do we finally make it about Mom and Dad? Arya slid a folder onto the table, its leather spine catching the light. The Calder Family Trust, she announced. Fully funded, legally binding, structured to guarantee lifetime care without burdening any one child. She looked squarely at Damon and Sabrina. No one gets unilateral control. Decisions flow through joint healthcare power of attorney, supported decision-making, and medical oversight, not sibling hierarchies. Damon leaned forward, his voice raw. You'd give us equal authority, clearer than I'd heard it in months. Broke through. Why can't you children stop fighting long enough to do the right thing? Mum's hand tightened on his. We don't need another war. We need a home. Her words settled like an anchor. Damon exhaled, shoulders slumping. I can help with oversight, he admitted quietly, not as CFO Calder, not as the one with answers, just me. Sabrina's eyes brimmed with tears. I could design programs, art therapy, community events, maybe make these spaces less lonely. I nodded, swallowing the lump in my throat. That's the point. We don't need to play parts anymore. Dinner that night was the first honest one in years. No rehearsed speeches about stock options or charity galas. Just family, sitting at a long oak table in Foxhaven's dining room, candlelight flickering against the glassware. My parents ate slowly, savouring flavours that weren't hospital mush. Damon asked Dad about his old woodworking projects. Sabrina laughed, really laughed, when Mum teased her about childhood ballet recitals. But the true test came later. Henry, my father, wandered from the table, drifting down the corridor towards the glass doors that opened to the garden. His gait was steady, but his eyes distant, his hand reaching for a knob he didn't recognize. Sabrina gasped, half rising from her chair. Then Foxhaven's design revealed its purpose. The door didn't open outward. Instead, a soft-lit path curved back towards the dining room, lined with familiar cues: lavender, a framed photo of Cedar Lake, gentle arrows inlaid into the floorboards. My father followed them instinctively, turning back into the room as though he'd never strayed. Sabrina's hands flew to her mouth. Tears streaked down her cheeks. I see it now, she whispered. Why this matters. I met her gaze, my voice quiet but steady. Because dignity isn't negotiable. The house fell silent again, but this time it wasn't just dirt under his nails and a boyish grin. The tomato plants are thriving, he announced, holding up a basket. Dad, remember those heritage seeds you told me about? I found a supplier. For the first time in decades, Damon wasn't performing for an audience. He was building something real, his sustainable landscaping program now intertwined with Foxhaven's therapy model. He'd walked away from Hamilton Financial, shocking his peers. But watching him joke with Dad, dirt smudged on his cheek, I knew he hadn't lost status. He'd found peace. The doorbell chimed. Sabrina breezed in, arms laden with canvas totes, her designer bags long replaced with paintbrushes and sketchbooks. She spread a collaborative painting across the coffee table, sunflowers layered with swirls of pastel blues and greens. Remembered gardens, she said proudly. The residents painted it together last week. Dad leaned forward, tracing a trembling finger across the canvas. Remarkable. Like separate lives finding common ground. Sabrina beamed. 6 months ago, she'd been drowning in galas and hollow charity boards. Now she was finishing her certification in art therapy, pouring herself into resident programs that made Foxhaven pulse with life. Trevor didn't appear tonight. Their marriage was still uncertain, but Sabrina herself had never looked steadier. Our weekly family dinners had become ritual. Tonight, Chef Alvarez had prepared roasted salmon with lemon dill, Mom's favorite. Alongside platters of heirloom tomatoes Damon had tended himself. Laughter echoed off the vaulted ceiling, not forced, not rehearsed, but real. My phone buzzed with a Camden Initiative update. Our third location had just broken ground, transforming an abandoned medical center into another Foxhaven-style facility. The wait list already stretched past 80 names. The Ashgrove model wasn't just theory anymore. It was a movement. Aria slid into the room carrying lemonade. Her promotion to director had been unanimous, insisted on by my siblings as much as me. She caught my eye. Sex 0.05. His gaze sharp and clear. Well, we're listening now. And we're proud of the woman you've become. For years, I had dreamed of hearing those words. And while they mattered, they weren't the victory I thought I needed. The true triumph wasn't recognition. It was reconnection. Later, as sunset painted the gardens amber, Damon and Sabrina walked with me toward the orchard. The helicopter sat on the eastern lawn, its sleek body no longer a dramatic exclamation point, but just another tool. Aria joined us, carrying a folder. The second chance grant applications are ready, she said. Inside were proposals from young entrepreneurs, including our niece Jessica, who dreamed of launching a sustainable fashion line. Damon grinned. We'll help her write the business plan. Sabrina tapped the folder. "And I'll rally her first customers." I smiled, realizing the circle had finally broken. No more golden child versus overlooked one. No more hierarchy. Just family, choosing each other. I glanced back at the helicopter, then at my siblings beside me. "That machine got your attention," I said softly. "But it wasn't what healed us." Sabrina looked at me curiously. "What was?" "The truth," I answered. "The truth brought us home." And for the first time, I believed it.